What's up, everyone? Today we have a Honda with a leaky carb. So this is going to be how to fix a leaky carb. Now this can be good for lawnmowers, pressure washers, ATVs, anything with a carburetor more or less, even vehicles. So if your machine, like in my case, has it on and off, have the fuel off. I replaced this yesterday, so it's brand new. Next. Now, obviously this is a Honda, but these next couple steps, just if it differs from what you're using, then just follow whatever step you need to do to remove the carburetor. But first we're going to remove the carburetor after the fuel is off. For this particular one, it's these long bolts. There we are. There's usually something you can get stuck on. And I do believe you want to take off, this, just to make it easier. And like I said, the fuel is off. Huh. I thought, oh, okay, it has an auto choke on this. I thought the choke was on the handle. Interesting. Anyway, we're going to be removing, the fuel lines. As you can tell, this one's been cared for and put in the garage and everything. Naturally, that's usually how they would end up working. These are fuel line pliers. If you don't have some, get some. I'll leave a link in the description below. But they are perfect for this type of thing. If I were to use normal pliers, I would be spending 10 times longer, and I would have destroyed the fuel line. These have a rounded end. There we are. Okay. We don't need this anymore. I'm just going to take that gasket off. And we have our culprit. Let's go to the carb station. First I'm going to take my air compressor, and in fact I'll show you. So you have the carb station. So for some carburetors, they can be insanely difficult, but those are usually for a lot larger vehicles. This is pretty simple. Take the bowl off. Ooh, someone's been in here. So you see what was in there? I let this turned off the fuel, and I let it run out. Just letting it run. And as you can tell, there's still fuel in there. And if you can see, there's a little bit of goo in there. That's exactly what happens. I'm gonna clean that. But in order to, I guess my point is, you can just let it run out of fuel, but you'll never get it all out. The best way is just to take it apart. So, our problem is right in there. It has a piece of garbage in there. I can see it. Sometimes the problem is the needle. And there's a lot of just nasty crap in there too. This person probably used ethanol fuel, and they put stabilizer in it. or maybe they didn't. But that's why. That was weird. This is not working. For power equipment, it's definitely worth your while to get non-ethanol fuel. Oh, wow. That wasn't even tight. I didn't loosen it from the other screwdriver. Yeah, I definitely think someone's been in here. Like I said, this thing ran. Not very well, but it ran. So this part isn't probably explicitly necessary for a leaky carb, but since you have it out, you might as well clean it too. Even if it looks clean, just for the fact that what I'm seeing right now, and the fact it's having a really hard time getting out, tells me that looks can be deceiving. Come on. There's definitely something in there causing aggravation of this. Usually, if you hit it long enough, gently, it should slowly make its way out. It's not wanting to. Now, like I said, this isn't for all. This is mainly for these style. This same style is like on a Predator. They're on Kawasaki's. They're on Cub Cadets. I'm sure there's others. Newer Briggs even sometimes. Slowly coming out. Come on. Oh, we're so close. Maybe if I developed a third hand, this would help, but there we go. Putting pressure on the top and then winding it out. The problem is this is smaller than the threads on the inside because the bowl nut is thicker, so this actually doesn't start threading until right about there. Yeah, this is pretty nasty actually. I mean, even this was having a hard time coming out of the emulsion tube. Okay, so when you clean, you can use Carb cleaner. You can go in there, take it to a Q-tip will do that, clean it all out. I'm going to put this in my ultrasonic cleaner. I'm also going to take out the idle jet, but I have to cut off this little tab first. So I'm going to rinse it and then cut it off with a Dremel. Okay, so all good. I wanted to clarify when I said I was going to take a Dremel and do that. I cut off that little end on there, but something you do want to remember is the purpose of a carburetor is to regulate fuel. And while the metal you're cutting will not spark, if you happen to slip and touch like the butterfly valve or whatever, it can spark, and if your hands are covered in gasoline, nothing good happens. So before you do that, wash your hands and wash the carb out with water. Yes, you're never really supposed to have a carburetor in water, but you can easily dry out a carburetor with like an air compressor. I mean, that's where this one was in. And all these little pieces will be dry too, so just remember that. Okay, all the little holes are clean. Goes in there, and I can see it popping its little face out. That jet looks a little dirty still. So this is obviously not 100% what you're going to have to do every time you have a leaky carb, but I guess my purpose of this is to show that a dirty carb is probably your leaky carb. So anything you can do to clean it out is important. So let's say you're mowing along and you don't realize it's leaking. Now you just spent a good however long leaking gas over your grass. Now if you don't care, that's fine. But if you do care, then you've realized that you probably just killed off a good portion of whatever you were right next to. That's not good. This one's too big. And having the smallest amount of dirt or dust will cause this. Because even if it's just in the bowl, what if when you've hit like a pothole or big molehill or something, and next thing you know, something gets dislodged, you're splashing away, because that's what gas does when it's being bounced around in the carburetor bowl, and somehow it gets lodged into the needle and seat area. Well, guess what? Now you have a leaky carb. The exact same thing goes towards fuel tanks. You want to make sure those are spotless. Tighten this down a little bit more. Those are brass, so you don't really want to tighten too much. So now I didn't show this taking it off, but just a little screw that, or screw that goes in. It has a dot, so we're using our correct screwdriver. Then your idle screw. Boom. Okay, next, the important part. Clean Q-tip. Make sure looks good to go. I'm going to shove it in there. You could put this in a drill too. In fact, I think I might. Do you ever have that drill that you bought a long time ago because it was cheap, but you never really use it because it's cheap? Now you have a reason. I like to take off a little bit of this. Makes it easier. And Since marble fixes everything, let's just put a little oil in there too. Now we're fully contacted. Ooh. Wow. That's surprising. See? Well cared for. And just blow it all out. That looks so much cleaner. You wish you could see. To a visual inspection, the needle looks good. There we are. Put the pin in. These don't really have like a orientation to them. They're long enough so they won't fall out because the bowl encompasses them. So not like one side's flat. So if I blown it like this, I shouldn't get anything, but then I flip it over, I should get air. Perfect. Clean bowl. And there we go. I'm going to put this back on. We'll turn on the fuel and see if it still leaks. Okay, so I went and got a drink, came back. It's been on the entire time. Maybe a third of a tank in there. And it's new gas I put in. The bowl should be full, nothing wet. Let's go ahead and put the air filter on. So when a carb leaks, and this works on a lot of these style of engines, maybe not so much on vehicle, yeah, vehicle too actually. The problem that you'll find, if you suspect it at least, like if you're looking at something but it has zero gas in it, smell the fuel, or the oil. Or I guess I could be right the first time. Luckily, this is new. I put that in the other day. But if it's been doing it for a long time, fuel will rise. It either has two places, out the filter or in the engine. If it goes in the engine, unless by some miracle the intake valve is completely closed and there's no leaking whatsoever, which technically there's not supposed to be anyway, but it could leak into the engine, past the rings, go into the crankcase, fill it up with gas. That's not good. So it's probably been there for, like I said, about 5 minutes or so. I don't see any leaking. Let me put some tools away. We'll set her down. Now, it also depends on where it's leaking. If it's coming out of the throat, it's the needle. If it's coming out of the very bottom, you want to check either the fuel line or the bowl nut. One of those would probably be your problem instead of the actual needle and seat. Let's see here. Also, check the condition of your bowl. Might be like a little pinhole in it. Take it off, put it behind some light, and look where you would suspect. Mainly it's usually in the bottom because that's where water would go and corrosion would start. Garage dog needs to explore. There we go. Let's see what happens. think it needs to be adjusted a little bit, but it's fine. Just idling a little high. I thought it was the screw, but realized the screw was on the other side. And when I looked in there, the plate wasn't even touching the screw. But yeah, no leaks. Just double check inside here. Dry, very nice. Okay, well, that is how you fix a leaky carb. And like I said, this works on a lot of different carburetors. All the small ones are generally the same. Some will have a rubber seat instead, if yours does, because this has a rubber needle. Then just change the rubber seat and just buy a kit. You kind of have to, unfortunately, on that one. But yeah. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. I will see everyone later. Definitely throw a thumbs up. Helps me out a lot. If there's anything else I could have done or should have done or anything that you want to discuss, definitely message below or leave a comment below. And yeah, have a good rest of your night.